quantity okay. Okay, so at here particulars you can leave it, like for example PO line. Okay, like for example computer, our order quantity is 20 and unit price is 3501, and this is our net amount. Okay, and PO invoice, this one. And for example, if I am receiving 5 quantity, okay, and remaining quantity is 15, remaining quantity is 15. Okay, so in this case, how the two-way matching principle will work, it will compare 5 quantity is there, under 20 we have 5 quantity which we can invoice it, and it is already available, and based on this particular amount and 5 quantity, our two-way matching principle will accept it. Okay, in three-way matching principle, what it will do, we will have another column in between PO invoice and line, that is PO product receipt. So at here also it will check okay. So at here okay, so in three-way matching principle and two-way matching, in two-way matching principle, the at the time of PO invoice, it will compare with the purchase order line. Okay, and if the quantity and amount, if it is match, the match status will be updated automatically. Okay, if you see in three-way matching principle, so what it will do, it will compare the PO invoice quantity and your receiving quantity and your invoice quantity. If these three are match, it will, the match status, this match status is there, right, which is not performed. So I need to run this match status manually by clicking on update match status. It will check whether it is in two-way or three-way matching principle which we have mapped. So based on that, it will be calculated. So currently it is not performed. So if I update match status, so what it will do, you can see it is status as passed. So based on the two-way or three-way matching principle what I have defined in my policy, so based on that it will be calculated. Okay, so how these two principles will work? In two-way matching principle, at the time of invoice, it will check with the order quantity, the quantity, unit price and amount. Whether it is match, the status will change as pass. If it is not match, it will be shown as failed. Okay, like for example, in three-way matching principle, it will compare with the invoice quantity, unit price and amount, will compare with your product receipt and as well as the PO invoice. So in 3 level it will compare, that is three-way matching principle. Any doubt in these two? Okay, like for example, if I modify the unit price, like for example I am changing as 3600. Okay, if I run update match status, let me update 20, and now let me update the I'll show you this match status. So the conceptual is clear, right? The two-way and three-way matching principle. Okay. So let me update the match status. Okay, now it is passed. Let me provide the invoice number as it is a mandatory field. Description is optional, and invoice date, if you don't provide the invoice date, it will take by default today's date as invoice date. So at here we have totally 5 different dates. So what do you mean by these 5 different dates? Okay, what do you mean by invoice receive date, invoice date? So what is the main difference between these two? Okay, so invoice receive date is different and invoice date is different. Okay, for example, you will receive the invoice today, but if you see under the document, the invoice date is something prior of this particular month. Like for example, I have received my invoice today, but if I see the document date of the particular invoice is, let's imagine 12th November. Okay, and similarly, what do you mean by date of VAT registration? So this particular date, this particular PO invoice related to which tax period for the settlement. So it's an optional. It's very rare. We'll update. It's completely financial. Okay. Next one is posting date and due date. Posting date, the date in which month you are posting. So currently it is by default will be today date, posting date. If you are updating prior month, if the month is closed, you cannot be post. Okay. Due date is auto calculated from the invoice date based on the terms of payment. Okay. For example, if your terms of payment is 30 days, so from the invoice day, it will calculate 30 days and it will give by default due date. Okay. So these are the 5 different dates, and you will click on post. So once you click on post, your invoice will be posted, and at here your accounting entry, I will show you what will be your accounting entry. Okay, now you can see on top we have received one message stating that the invoice has been posted. Okay, so you can see under invoice we have invoice journal. So there is the PO invoice which we have posted. If I go to the lines, you can see one quantity has been invoiced. Quantity 1 has been invoiced. Okay, so at here, if I click on vouchers, currently it is blank. The reason behind is there are some batch which need to be run on periodic basis, like every 5 minutes, which we have enabled it. Okay, so still it is in not process, so we will manually run it. So this is completely finance process one, that one, the accounting, the batch, those batch. Okay, now you can see at here we are able to view 2 entries. One is purchase expenditure for expenses and vendor balance. Okay, so in these two, additional 3 more lines will be added. I will show you what will be the accounting entry, actual accounting entry. In PO invoice, first it will be reverse our product receipt, our accrual entries. Okay, so at here what will happen, my purchase accrual will be debited and my purchase expenditure uninvoiced will be credited. It means the accounting entry what happened during the product receipt, the same entry will be posted during the PO invoice in inverse sign. Like for example, previously it is debit, it is in positive, now it is in negative figure. Okay, credit will be in minus sign and debit will be in positive sign. Okay, my purchase accrual, previously it is in minus, now it is in plus sign, so the net impact of these two accounts will be 0. Okay, other than that we will have additional 3 more main account, that is purchase expenditure for product slash services. This will be debited. Okay, tax, let's imagine 5% tax. Okay, vendor balance, so this is the actual accounting entry which will be booked during the invoice. Okay, so your purchase expenditure for product or service will be debit, your tax will be debit, and your vendor balance will be 105. Okay, so this is the accounting entry which will be posted during PO invoice. Okay, so you should aware about these two entries mainly as a SCM consultant or finance consultant also. It's a mandatory during the interview. This is a common question which they will ask. Okay, yeah.